welcome back to Weather Tracker TV. It is time for Storm Watch. This is the part of the show where we like to broaden the scope and look at the severe weather that is going on or has been going on across the country. And so if we look at our current surface map, you could see there are quite a few boundaries there, but the one that is the most impactful, or that has been the most impactful, is where you see the warm front going through Missouri and Iowa, and then we have that low pressure system right there, right over Omaha, Nebraska right now, and then that contributed to all of that severe weather in Nebraska yesterday and tornadoes, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll get more into that in a moment. But for right now, that is the most impactful boundary that we're seeing. And again, look at all that water vapor that you see in Texas coming up. And you also see the water vapor going across the upper Midwest. And so that is where we're going to see the majority of our severe weather today. Let's talk about the heavy rain zone, though, because yes, we're so focused on tornadoes and whatnot, rightfully so. But sometimes we don't really think about the flooding as much as we should. So let's focus on that for a moment. So obviously, what's sticking out here is the yellow. So that is flooding that is very likely to occur on the southeastern part of the state, the coastal plains. In fact, San Antonio this morning, they got about half the amount of rain in 3 hours than they get really in the entire month of May. Okay, so this is beneficial rain that we're getting in this area. We really need the rain around that area, but we don't want so much at a time, especially since the soil is not able to absorb it as much as it would be otherwise. So look at these future rainfall projections. So we're looking at upwards of 3 inches or so in some areas that we can be getting. And it looks like the most of it's going to be just east of the I-35 corridor. So that's why we have those excessive rainfall warnings in effect. Now, looking at our severe risk around the rest of the country, we see up in the Corn Belt, that's one area. And then our area here in Texas and Oklahoma is another area. And the third area would be around North Carolina and Virginia. Now, for that area, they are looking at just a marginal risk of perhaps quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. But the story of the day is up here in Iowa, Illinois, that area. We have an isolated chance of tornadoes there. It does not look to be as intense as what we saw in Nebraska yesterday, but it is still that same low pressure system that is just moving so slowly to the north and to the east. And so we also cannot leave out the possible hail probabilities either. There's a hail probability in this area as well. In fact, in Nebraska yesterday, there was a report of grapefruit size hail, 4.5 inches there. So that's definitely something we need to be paying attention to. And you can see that the timeline here with these storms moving to the north to the east, right through Waterloo, Davenport throughout the evening. With the daytime heating, that's where we're going to get those storms bubbling up there. And then lastly, of course, we have in Texas, we have the storms coming up from the south to the north, from the San Antonio area, working their way up throughout the rest of the evening here in North Texas. And going through the rest of the day tomorrow, it gets a little more spotty. More coming up.